there, and welcome to the program Smart Move. Now, prosperity for all Deltans is the destination of the Okowa administration via the instrumentality of the Smart Agenda. And Smart Move is the program where we inform Deltans about the programs and policies of government geared towards achieving the Smart Agenda. My name is Christine Imitulu. Our major segment of the program Smart Move is MDAs in Focus, where today the Commissioner for Finance, Honorable David Edevie, briefs the press on the strategies being deployed by his ministry towards generating and managing the resources of the state, as well as creating wealth in accordance with the smart agenda of the state government. Also on the program today, the quiz segment seeks to find out just how much you know about Delta State. We'll also find out who the winners were for last week. Deltans also will bear their minds as to how the Okowa administration is impacting their lives. All this coming up. Do stay tuned.
I testify.
I testify.
I testify.
The structure of the Ministry of Finance that carries out the responsibilities. You have the Office of the Honorable Commissioner, you have the Office of the Permanent Secretary, Department of Administration, Department of Investments and Loans, Department of Finance and Accounts, Department of Planning, Research and Statistics, Department of Debt Management. And then, of course, there's the Office of the Accountant General, and then you have the Board of Internal Revenue. These are all part of the Ministry of Finance. We also have some other agencies. They run commercially. One of them is UIDC, and another is Delta Trust Mortgage Finance Limited. So our briefing covers all of these areas.
The revenue generation machinery. Basically, there are a lot of laws in place, like the Delta State Internal Revenue Consolidation Law, 2009. Then, of course, the Personal Income Tax Law as amended. All of these help with respect to the collection of internally generated revenue on behalf of the state government and MDAs. It should be noted that over 95% of our collections with respect to IGR are actually done by the Delta State Board of Internal Revenue. Since assuming office, the current board has raised the monthly IGR from about 3.2 billion naira the year before to, on average, about 4 billion naira. That is in 2017. And we're trying to deploy new strategies. We're in the process of deploying strategies, and I'll discuss some of those strategies. And the aim is to try and target an increase in the internally generated revenue to an average of about 7 billion a month. That's our target. Statutory allocations, basically funds that we receive from Abuja. Obviously, FAC allocations. Then another aspect is derivation revenue, and then there are other capital receipts that we get. In terms of statutory allocations, VAT, 13% derivation, and other capital receipts, the budget we had was 294 billion. In actual terms, the amount raised or we received was just under 180 billion. And that's a capital, basically that's a performance of 60% or 61%. So in effect, we had a 40% shortfall compared to budget. Again, the reasons for that vary, but one of the key reasons, obviously the recession. Another key reason is the price of oil. It wasn't as high as was expected to be. And then obviously there were some issues to do with production. Production nationwide was less than anticipated in the budget. So again, that affected the amount of money available for distribution. There are other reasons why distribution of FAC revenues has dropped as far as oil-producing states are concerned, but that's for another medium. But all of these things have led to a reduction compared to how much we expected. In terms of expenditure is split into capital and recurrent. Recurrent expenditure is basically what goes towards the payment of salaries, overheads, etc. The estimated budget was 158 billion, and actual expenditure was 145 billion, which is a 92% performance. When it comes to expenditure, on recurrent expenditure, we really, a large chunk of that expenditure we have no control over, which is salaries. We must pay salaries. So obviously those had to be paid in full. The only area that we have some control over is overheads, and that has been held down, obviously, to try and keep it in line with the revenue that is available. Now, if you go to the capital expenditure, what we have was budgeted for was 136 billion. Actual expenditure itself, as at end of 2017, was 63 billion. And that is a that is a performance of about 47%. Again, it's obvious why there was a reduction in capital expenditure, because like earlier I mentioned that there was a reduction in the total amount of revenue that came into the state. And once the total amount has reduced and you meet your recurrent expenditure in full, practically in full, then it is what remains that comes or becomes available for capital expenditure, plus any other revenue you can raise by way of borrowings, etc. The amount released to DESOPADEC was supposed to be 28 billion in the 2017 budget, but the amount actually released was about 17.2 billion. Again, this shortfall compared to the budget is explained by the shortfalls in the revenue realized during the period. Internal and external debt management. Basically, the total debt stock as at the end of the fourth quarter as being 228 billion naira. And the breakdown of the debt stock is at 10.2. The Delta State bond is 7.7 billion. Contractor arrears is about 110 billion. Commercial bank loan, as at the end of last year, 3.8 billion. Pensions and gratuities arrears, about 18.5 billion. Commercial bank loans restructured into federal government bonds, 67 billion. Salary bailout by CBN, 10.5 billion. The previous bailout fund, about 8.5 billion. Judgment debts, about 500 million. So the total there is about 228 billion. Going into the specifics, the Delta State bond, which was 50 billion, has now been reduced to just 7.7 billion. I believe that, I think when does it finish? September 2018. We would have finished repaying the Delta State bond. There is some pressure to and some discussions as to whether we should take out another bond, but I think the general feeling is that we should wait until the beginning of a new administration. Most of the projects, if not all of the projects, have been completed. So we're just doing some, I think there's some new projects in education. Funds were moved from certain projects that could not be undertaken to new projects which were of more importance. We got approval from SEC to do that, and those projects are being tidied up now. The Ministry of Finance, through MOFI, Ministry of Finance Incorporated, has invested in a number of quoted and unquoted companies. There's also investments in the Bogonogo market and the Uwe modern market. Again, those are things that are in the report. Same applies to the Ugele Ugo modern market. UIDC, The company basically carries out finance and consultancy activities towards the upliftment of the state economy. And it has assisted in by dispersing a total of over $1 billion to workers through its offices in Agbo, Warri, Asaba, and Ughelli. It has also assisted in trade finance. It dispersed about 27.3 million to traders and market women who basically would not have had access to conventional loans. And these were given to them in Ughelli and Warri. And then also it dispersed about 52 million to workers for commodity trading. The Delta Trust Mortgage Finance Bank provided about 1.3 billion as mortgage and estate financing to support mass urban housing schemes to workers, cooperative societies, and other identifiable groups in pursuance of the SMART agenda of the state government. One area that we've looked at critically, again in 2017, was Project E-Delta. Project E-Delta is basically the computer platform under which all the finances of the state is expected to run. The inception of this administration, it was discovered that it was difficult to carry out processes and process transactions using the financial management process on SAP platform. To address this problem, the ministry responded by engaging engineers to work on the problem. And they've been doing that, and they did that throughout most of 2017. And because of that, information was uploaded with regards to the 2016 and 2017 budgets into the SAP system, and this allowed for the normal government transactions to be processed using the computers system. Other MDAs will be connected in due course, but the overall effect of all of this, it has improved probity, accountability, and transparency in financial management. The World Bank C4 project is also providing funding to help us upgrade our computer system using the latest SAP system, which is called S4HANA. In line with the state government's policy on timely and effective service delivery to the people, it has committed itself to paying regularly the monthly salaries of civil servants and other workers. However, owing to the continuous decline in revenues accruing to the state, most especially from the Federation account, it has been difficult at times to meet the full payment of all pension commitments as and when due. But what we have done as soon as we can is whenever there's any surplus in funding, we direct it towards meeting our commitments with regards to pension commitments. The statements for the year 2016 have been audited by the Auditor General and has been published in some of your newspapers. The management accounts for January to December 2017 have also been prepared, and these accounts were prepared in line with the cash basis of IPSAS, and they have been submitted to the Auditor General for audit. We provided assistance to local governments council. A total sum of just over 40 billion was credited to the Delta State Joint Local Council account from monies received from the Federation account, which belonged to the local government. But obviously it comes through us, and we released everything in full to the local governments. In addition, the state on its own released another 500 million out of the bailout funds to the local government councils to pay some of their staff salaries. Also, the sum of 10.7 billion received from the federal government as refund over deductions of foreign loans has been released to the local government councils between December 2016 and December 2017. Challenges facing the ministry, there's a general decline in receipts from the Federation account. There's tax evasion and avoidance continues. We're doing all our best to try and eradicate that problem. The capital market has not done very well, and therefore investment returns, which used to be kind of a source of some funds for the states, are not as high as we expect. One major issue is the relocation of oil companies from the state due to communal pressures and crisis. And this has affected revenue significantly. But we're talking to them and we're trying to get, I think in conjunction with the federal government, we're trying to get them to come back. So I guess in conclusion, 2017, 2017 was a difficult year. Part of the year we were in recession, but in the latter part of the year, the latter half of the year, we came out of recession. I think it was in the second quarter, 2017. When we say we came out of recession, the government grew, or the GDP grew by just, if I recall, 0.55%. That's less than 0.5%. But at least the economy is no longer contracting. And we've seen that our income has started to improve gradually. Because of the initiatives of the state and federal government, a lot of the issues to do with pipeline vandalization have reduced, and therefore oil output has increased again, and therefore that has affected our revenue in a good way. And this has obviously it impacted the end of 2017, but we are also seeing the benefits in 2018. I think this year, by the grace of God, I think we'll see substantial increases in revenue back to the levels that we were used to. And a lot of things that could not be funded previously should be funded. And therefore, we should not have any excuses any longer as a government, because the funding should be there. We will deal with all the problems that we inherited in the past, and hopefully most of the projects that we've embarked upon should be completed as planned. Thank you very much.
Hi, this is my Delta. This last 3 years has been so amazing in Delta State. There has been lots of jobs and wealth creation across the state, infrastructural development in all sections. Old roads are wearing new looks and new ones are being constructed. Primary healthcare has greatly been improved upon. Now you can get health support with ease. Educational sector was not left out. It has received tremendous boost. This last 3 years has been so amazing in Delta State. Come and experience this new Delta with me.
In the course of the ministerial press briefing, the Honorable Commissioner for Finance was asked key questions by journalists. One of the questions asked was, how will the central billing system address the issue of misdirecting of money into private pockets?
If you look at page, if I can find it now, page 3, item 6.1, where we said it should be noted that 95% of the IGR being raised in the state is being done by the Board of Internal Revenue. And what that effectively means is that the remaining 5% is what is being raised through the various MDAs. When you look at that figure compared to the other states of the Federation, the last one I looked at, we were 30, or if not 31, out of 36 states, with respect to money being raised by the ministries. Not through the Board of Internal Revenue, by the ministries. I think we were 31, if not worse, maybe 33 out of 36. So it confirms the point, me I like facts, it confirms the point that you just made, that it clearly means, because that cannot be the position, I cannot understand why states like Jigawa, their MDAs, will raise more money than Delta State. It's not possible. So clearly what is happening is money is either the MDAs are not collecting the monies, right? Or they are collecting it and it's not reaching the treasury. It's clearly one of the two. I leave it to you to decide which one it is. But clearly there's a problem. And that is why we now said MDAs no longer collect this thing. Let it now be done centrally through the Board of Internal Revenue, because they clearly have a better means of doing it. The other reason why we introduced that is because people were complaining, and I'm sure it applies to some of you here, that you were receiving bills from different agencies of government, sometimes 4, 5, 6 different bills from different agencies. Some of them even billing you for the same thing. And so we thought this is not acceptable. It is better that we release only one bill, as it is done in Lagos State, as it is done in Kaduna State. Just release one bill that lists all the items on that one bill for payment. And so that is why we introduced the central billing system. So one, we think it will address the issue of money not reaching where it's supposed to reach. Two, it will reduce the number of all these so-called consultants who are collecting money on behalf of the MDAs, because now it will be the Board of Internal Revenue that will be collecting it. And three, we can now see on an aggregate basis how much we truly are collecting. But the jury is out. I would love for you to ask me this same question at the next press briefing we have, to say show me the specific progress.
Before now, the defined benefits, which is the old scheme, that's where we hear about retirees that are called for head counts. You see old retirees, they leave their homes, they have to come to Asaba, for instance, for head counts, just to make sure that they are still alive, you know. But this contributory pension scheme has put the retirees on the private scheme. Thereby, they are now private retirees. They don't have to come for head counts, and then they will sit at the comfort of their homes, and then they will enjoy their pension benefits as and at when due.
He has been very supportive and very magnanimous in releasing money. You know, money is never enough. Before now, we were not sure whether money will come today or tomorrow or any day, but with his tenure, we now have steady release.
My own husband is a retired teacher. Since 2008, they're not a PAM for federal, for his own retirement. Okowa have paid from 2008 to 2018.
And that does it for this edition of the program Smart Move, where today on the MDAs in Focus segment, the Commissioner for Finance, Honorable David Edewie, revealed to Deltans the strategies being deployed by his ministry to generate and manage the resources of the state, as well as create wealth for Deltans in accordance with a smart agenda. Also, we found out who our quiz winners were, as it had to do with last week's quiz, and today the questions are right there on the screen for you. Do participate. We also had Deltans speak up as to how the co-administration is impacting on them in the 3 senatorial districts of Delta State. You too can join in the conversation. All you need to do is follow us on our social media platforms, which are right there displayed on your screen. Until next time, when another edition of the program Smart Move comes your way, and of course on behalf of other members of the production team, my name is Christine Imetulu. Do remember, think smart, move smart. For today, thanks for watching. Goodbye.